Alright, so another Formula E race in the books today. So race 2 of the 2023 Diriyah ePrix. Thought it was a okay race. I think yesterday's was a bit more unpredictable, a bit more exciting, but overall I still thought it was a pretty good race. So started with Hughes on pole and Evans on the front row alongside him. So Hughes yesterday was in second, so one spot improvement to start. So we'll see how things went. So Evans got a very good start and actually took Hughes at the start of turn 1. And the commentator said that it was the first time that the pole sitter isn't leading after the first lap here in Diriyah. So just noting how tight the track is and how difficult it can be to overtake sometimes. So cars went 2 abreast across the straight, the last straight before the finish line, and it was kind of just overall quite chaotic. Verline gained a place. Dennis lost 2 places. Bornby also lost 2 places, and I think Dennis looked like he lost out of the chicane, kind of tried to go down the inside around the first part around, and then the outside of the second part of the chicane, but just kind of lost out there. Lap 3 back markers, Kelvin van der Linde starting to take attack mode, which I thought was quite early, but you know, for Abt and for van der Linde, their goal isn't really to get points, it's really just to get used to Formula E and just try to improve every race. So lap 5, the order was Evans, Hughes, Rast, Verline, and Mortara. Evans was complaining about pedals, but it turns out it might have been he was complaining about his paddles, like the gear shift paddles on his steering wheel. Everyone was very close together, so there weren't any cars that were taking a big lead, and they were just kind of holding position and waiting for the race to develop. Lauderer passed Roland for 18th. Lap 6, there was an aggressive move from Sergio Sette Camara to defend. I thought it was a bit borderline given how late he moved over, but nothing happened. Lap 7, DaCosta passed Jean-Eric Vergne at the chicane. Lap 8, drivers were again being very conservative with energy at the start of the race. The first 8 to 10 laps, not much happened. And then for attack mode, both Neos took attack mode at this point, and Sergio Sette Camara dropped behind Vergne. Lap 9, Evans takes attack mode for 3 minutes, and Van Dorn takes attack mode, which I thought was unusual to be that early. Hughes retook the lead, and Evans dropped to 3rd. So he was behind Rast as well at this point. Lap 10, Hughes takes attack mode and almost passes Rast, and Rast takes the lead at this point. Chandhawk, I thought, made a good point about McLaren's strategy, how since they had a 1-2 at this point, they should have used Rast to back up Evans, and then when Hughes took attack mode, he would stay in the lead, or at least stay very close to the lead. So I thought that was a good point, but I think in the end it didn't really matter that much. Lap 11, Rast takes attack mode, stays in first, so we got a good overcut for the first attack mode strategy. Lap 12, Verline overtakes Hughes, and they said he had 2% more energy than everyone. Dennis and Bird were also in very good shape on energy. Lap 13, Verline overtakes Evan at the chicane, and Rast has a 2.3 second gap at this point to Verline. And the commentators noted that going into the chicane after the main straight, that the Porsche doesn't do very much coasting, so it's full throttle and then on the brakes right away, whereas the other cars, they have to do 1 to 2, 3 seconds of coasting in order to save energy, just showing how efficient the Porsche powertrain is. I think that really bore itself out today for the rest of the race. Lap 14, Cassidy reports that it's raining, and they sent Nicky Shields outside into the pit lane, and it turns out it wasn't raining, so I don't know if it was a little bit of drizzle, but it didn't really have an effect on the race. Lap 15, Rast has a 1.6 second gap to Verline, and then a further 1.5 seconds back to Evans. Verline takes attack mode, and then lap 17, Verline quickly catching Rast. So Verline was able to take attack mode the previous lap and not lose any positions. And Rast takes attack mode and basically gives the lead to Verline. Lap 18, cars are very tight together. I think Boemi took his first attack mode and lost 2 places, so he fell down to 8th. And let's see what else. Oh yeah, so almost takes Mortara. So yeah, Mortara had quite an aggressive move there. I think on Evans that was. So lap 20, Verline takes the second attack mode, so decides to go with both attack modes very early, which I thought was probably the best strategy. Dennis, at this point, after almost overtaking Mortara, was under pressure from Bird, which was unusual. Lap 21, Bird had 4% more battery, more energy than everyone else around him, which made it seem like he could really do something with that. But the commentators kept noting that he hadn't used any of his attack modes yet, so of course he still had a lot more usable energy because of this, which I thought was a really good point. Dennis passed Mortara at the chicane, and Bird then went through and passed Mortara at turn 21, so that's the first overtake we've had all weekend at turn 21. I'm fairly certain it was the only one we really had until the very end. Lap 22, Hughes takes attack mode and stays ahead of Bird, but drops to 5th behind Dennis. Lap 23, Dennis overtakes Evans. Lap 24, they said that he had 3% more energy than Rast, so Dennis at this point is in really good shape, and he's just been picking off drivers and moving up the field. But he still hasn't used any attack mode. Dennis passes Rast, and Bird passes Hughes on the same lap, on lap 24, and at this point it's Verline first, Dennis second, and Rast in third, and the gap between Verline and Dennis was 1.9 seconds, so a comfortable lead for Verline. Lap 26, lap 25, Dennis takes attack mode, and Bird overtakes Evans for 4th down the main straight and through the chicane. Lap 26, Bird passes Rast and takes 3rd. There were yellow flags at the chicane, and it turns out that Mueller went into the wall. So seemed like he tried to overtake a car, kind of misjudged the braking, and then understeered and slid into the wall sideways. So that brought out the safety car. So the safety car comes out, and they confirmed on the team that it was not a software or hardware issue. He just locked the rears and slid into the wall. So the safety car comes out, and I think they mentioned that this was really good for Dennis, as well for Bird, because they both had attack mode and they could use on Verline. But I thought that because all the cars are going to be bunched up together, when you take the attack mode, you're more likely going to lose that position to the car behind. And especially for for Bird, because he had to take 2 attack modes, whereas Dennis only had to take 1, and Verline had already used all of his attack mode. So safety car comes in, end of lap 30, and lap 31, Mortara and Gunther both take attack mode. Roland was in the pits. I guess he got a puncture, and both Mahindras were so far back, and so I guess they decided just to retire the car and save parts. So Dennis and Bird both take attack mode, and Bird falls behind Rast, so now he's in 4th place at this point. Evans and Boemi take attack mode, and I guess Evans falls behind Hughes. Lap 32, there's a 1.5 second gap to Verline to Dennis, so the gap's opened up again between them. Lap 33, Bird goes deep at the chicane trying to overtake Rast, just goes too deep, goes wide, and it looked like he almost went in the wall, but he managed to keep it out of the barriers. So he drops a load of time, but stays in 4th place. So that was a bit of a big mistake for Bird. I think it probably cost him a podium this race, but it's hard to tell. Yeah, let's see. Ticknam overtook Gunther for 10th place, I think, at this point, because Gunther took attack mode. Lap 35, they said that there's probably going to be only 1 extra lap because of the safety car. And Bird almost gets Rast on this lap, and Rast and then takes his second attack mode because he still had to take the second, so he dropped back again. They said there was a 3.2 second gap between Dennis and Rast, so at this point Verline and Dennis were miles in the lead, and there was quite a big gap back to the battle between Rast and Bird, and then Evans, Hughes, and Buemi a bit further back. Lap 37, they showed that Van Dorn had 4% more energy than everyone else in 9th place, so I thought maybe he might be able to capitalize this and move up at the very end. Turns out that doesn't happen. He tries to take attack mode, it looks like, and he drops to 11th place, and it looked like, but the graphic didn't show up on the screen, so it looked like he just failed to arm his attack mode. And I'll talk about that at the end. Lap 39, Verline's at 5%, Dennis at 4%, Rast at 4%, Bird at 5%. So the big gaps, the big increase, the big amount of power that Bird had at the safety car, she's kind of used up at this point because you use more energy in attack mode. But still very close. Lap 40, so the one extra lap. So nobody really overtook until the final corner, where there was basically absolute chaos. Buemi basically passed Evans at the finish line because going through the final corner, Hughes goes through the corner and then runs out of energy. So, and then Bird goes right behind him and basically pushes him across the line. And at the same point, Buemi basically just passes and takes 5th place. There was chaos the last couple corners, and there was lots of spots moving around, but not a lot of TV coverage of it, so it was really hard to tell. So that was your race. First place was Verline, 2nd place Dennis, 3rd place Rast, 4th place Bird, 5th place Hughes, 6th place Buemi, 7th place Evans, 8th place Fenestras, 9th Mortar, 10th Tictum, 11th DaCosta, 12th Lauderer, 13th Cassidy, 14th Nato, 15th Degrassi, 16th John Eric Byrne, 17th Sergio Seti Camara, 18th Van der Linde, 19th Gunther, and 20th Van Dorn. So it turns out that Van Dorn did not take his second attack mode, so he was given a very large penalty, I think 30-second penalty, for not taking attack mode, so that dropped him all the way from, I think, 11th to 20th. So not great. And the two retirements were Roland and Muller. So overall, I think good race. I think it really showed the dominance of the current dominance of the Porsche powertrain, specifically Verline and Dennis. So after 3 races, the other 2 drivers in the Porsche powertrains, Lauderer has been okay, and DaCosta's been pretty poor, I thought. Not great. Although, of course, last race he kind of got hit in the wall, and that's not his fault. But at the same point, you know, we didn't have a great race today either. So I think it really shows that Verline and Dennis are really making the best of that car right now. What else? I think Hughes dropping to 5th from pole, I think is a bit disappointing. I think he could have probably would have hoped for a podium. He got past Rast, but I think he's still learning, and you know, he's still doing very well in his first 3 races. Rast, I think, really happy with her. I think that was the best he could have gotten. I think Bird probably should have gotten that podium, but again, he made that mistake. Dennis, oh yeah, they mentioned, commentators mentioned as well that Verline and Dennis started 5th and 6th. Dennis 5th, Verline 6th. Verline had an amazing start. Dennis had a poor start. I think that really decided the race today. I think if the result had been the other way around, Dennis had a great start, Verline had a really poor start, I think the result would have gone the other way. Buemi, again, very good race, very opportunistic. I think Evans will be disappointed. I think he seemed more inefficient with energy than Bird did today, and I think he didn't really make any mistakes, but I think he was just a bit slower than I was expecting. Good race for Fenestras, somehow ended up in 8th, not sure how. Mortara, I think that's probably where the car is right now. It started higher up, but I don't think the car is as good as it was, as testing made it look like it was. I think Tictum, really good result for him. 10th place in the Neo is fantastic, especially with only 2 retirements. he actually made up places from when he started. So again, very good job for Tictum. He's making the most of that car, I think. Costa and Lauder, again, pretty poor. Teammates are first and second, and they're 11th and 12th. Cassidy, not much to say. He's been behind Buemi, I think, every race this season. So really great to see from Buemi after 2 really tough years at the last 2 years at Nissan. Let's see, Nato, not great, behind his teammate, Degrassi. So I think the Mahindras, they've been really poor this weekend, and I think that really kind of shows where they are. Degrassi, I think, just had an amazing qualifying and really had the widest Formula E car he could possibly have in Mexico, which gave him that podium. But I think the reality is the Mahindra powertrain's not great. Between both Mahindra and Abt, they've just, really poor so far this year. And I think TS Penske as well, really disappointing. Qualifying pace is not great. Race pace doesn't seem great either. And doesn't look great for them. So championship standings so far this year. Let's see. So first place we have Verline with 68 points, so he moves into the lead of the Formula E Championship for the first time ever. Second place Dennis, 62 points, so neck and neck between the two. Third place Buemi, massive gap down to 31 points. Fourth Bird, 28 points. Fifth Hughes, 27 points. Sixth Ras, 26 points. Seventh Degrassi with 18 points. Eighth Lauderer with 14 points. Ninth Evans with 11 points. 10th Cassidy with 10 points. 11th DaCosta with 6 points. 12th Verne with 6 points. 13th Van Strauss with 4 points. 14th Mortara with 2 points. Van Doren 15th with 1 point. And then Tictum also 16th with 1 point. And Gunther, Nato, Roland, Muller, Satikama, Van der Linde, and of course Fines have failed to score points so far this year. So next race is 2 weeks in Hyderabad, India. So that'll be the first race at that circuit. Should be pretty exciting. So until then, I think I will do a power ranking of the Formula E drivers so far this year. Just see how they're doing, and we'll go from there. So again, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you again later.